Recording. Okay, feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question or a comment. And we are on Daf Yud Beis Amar Aleph 12a. We're getting close to the end of the second chapter. I'm getting there. So 12a on the top it says Nigmar Dinoi. Nigmar Dinoi is a quote from our Mishnah. So we add on our Mishnah that the comment in the Mishnah was that it doesn't matter who it is, that person has to go to a city of refuge. And the Mishnah even gave an example of Yoav ben Tzruya, right? He was a big general in David Melech's army, in King David's army, and even him, he would have to end up there. So that's what the Mishnah mentions. So now, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav. So this is more in the form of Agadata storyline, but based on our Mishnah. So Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav, Shteito Uyois Ta Yoav Baisasha, that Yoav ben Tzruya at the end of his life. So I should really say the story of what happened. Yoav ben Tzruya, David Melech was upset at him and felt that he deserved the death penalty, and told Shlomo Melech, told his son, that he should give the death penalty to Yoav ben Tzruya, because he killed Avner ben Ner and he killed Amasa, two generals, one is Tzava Yisrael, one Tzava Yehuda, and when Yoav found out that Shlomo that he's going to get killed, so he ran into the oil, into the courtyard, into the Mishkan, into the tabernacle, right? So keep in mind, right? David Melech, it's right of the transfer of power from David to his son Shlomo. The Beis Hamikdash is not built. There's the Mishkan, so he runs into the Mishkan and he grabs onto the horns of the Mizbeach. He grabs onto the sides of the Mizbeach, like the corners, the sides, and he holds on to it. And the Mizbeach, based on a pasuk, helps a person from getting from getting killed, just like a Ir Miklat does, just like a city of refuge. But he made a mistake. So what did he make a mistake? So that's what the Gemara is talking about. He made a mistake and it cost him his life. So he made a mistake. That Yoav ran into the oil and he held onto the corners of the Mizbeach. So mistake number one, that first of all, his first mistake was that what saves a person from getting killed is the top of the mizbeach and not the corners, not the edges. And he grabbed onto the wrong body. And the other mistake, that only the mizbeach, the forever mizbeach, the mizbeach in the Beis Hamikdash, that's what saves a person, but not the mizbeach shel shiloi. That's one version in the Gemara. Rashi has a version that it's that he hu tavas b'mizbeach shel bama, that he grabbed onto a mizbeach of a bama. A bama is a mizbeach that was built outside of the Beis Hamikdash, and both of them kind of mean the same idea, that the only mizbeach that would save Yoav would be the mizbeach in the Beis Hamikdash. So those are two mistakes that are mentioned that Rav Yehuda mentions in the name of Rav. Abaye says there was a third mistake that he made as well, a third misunderstanding, something that he thought would go a certain way, but he made a mistake. There's another mistake, and this also he made a mistake. What is it? He made a mistake. That Abaye says that really a mizbeach, it can grasp, it can save a kohen that has still some work to do in the Beis Hamikdash, a kohen that is there doing some avoda, and avoda biyada, he's in the middle of the work. So then the mizbeach, the altar, saves him. But he was a zar, he was not a kohen, he was a foreigner, so to speak, and wasn't a kohen. So therefore, it didn't help. So now that we're talking about the mistakes, so Rish Lakish continues on this note. Amar Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish says, Shalish te'iois asid sarei shal reimi litois, that when Mashiach comes, the master of Rome, meaning the master, the angel representing a certain element of the non-Jewish people, the element of Rome, is going to make mistakes. It's going to be 3 mistakes, Rish Lakish says. And he bases it on Pasuk. Says, who's coming from Edom, that he has dirty clothing, and mi Batzra is coming from a place called Batzra. Okay, so now the way this pasuk is understood, it's referring to Hashem coming back from the punishment of Rome when Mashiach comes. So so first of all, he made a mistake. He makes the mistake, and if one of the cities of refuge is called Betzer, and he goes to a city called Batzra, thinking it's the same city. Also, the mistake thinking that the city of refuge will save someone that did something on purpose, and the mistake is that it only is a shoygig. It only saves someone that did that inadvertently killed. And and the third mistake is that the city of refuge is not for angels. It can't save an angel. It can only save human beings, and it cannot save angels. So here, the Rebbe Vo makes a statement. Rebbe Vo, just picture this for a moment, because we learned another Gemara that says otherwise, right? So right away we're going to ask, right? So picture for a moment that Rebbe Vo is sitting there, and he has students galore sitting in front of him, and he makes a statement that cities of refuge are not made to bury people. Don't bury people in cities of refuge. It's not that. Don't make your basic kvaris. Don't, here in Dollard we have on sources, we have this basic kvaris. On De La Savan, Ben knows, right? The basic kvaris. There's a place, so there's a designated place. He says we don't start designating places for people to be buried in a city of refuge, right? So this is a Bavo's statement. So you can imagine the uproar. We have an uproar already, because we just learned something last week or 2 weeks ago about that, right? So, but that's the statement. And he brings even a proof from a pasuk. Says the pasuk says that that the fields, right? There is fields in a city of refuge. It's not all apartment buildings and houses. So, but the fields should be for the animals and for their stuff, and for all their livelihood. So what do we learn from here? The Bavo says it's given, the cities of refuge are given l'chaim, to life, and not for death, and not for burial. So this is a statement, a halacha that the Bavo mentions in the yeshiva. So they all ask a question. The students that are sitting there, they ask a question. We learned this already, right? And we learned that based on a pasuk, the pasuk says shama, that it says over there, right? And we learned, why is it the word shama is an extra word, so it's obviously coming. There's nothing superfluous in the Torah, so therefore it's coming to teach us something. So what did we learn? What did the sages learn from the pasuk when it says the word shama? It says sham te'edirasei, that's where he should have his house, that's where he should live. Sham te'emisasei, that's where he should die, meaning if he dies before the Kohen Gadol dies, right? And sham te'ekvurasei, and that's where you bury him until the Kohen Gadol dies, as we learned already, right? If you want, after the Kohen Gadol dies, you can move his plot. But we learned already that there is a scenario where an inadvertent killer gets buried in a city of refuge. So how could the Rebbe get up there and base it on a pasuk nach saying that Ir Miklot, a city of refuge, is not a place to bury? Don't make cemeteries there. So he says, Shani, the Galabei Rachmana, Reitzeach Shani, the Galabei Rachmana, the inadvertent killer is not what he was talking about. He was talking about a Levi. We know that the cities of refuge were populated by the Shevet Levi, right? That they weren't given areas, they weren't given a part of the land of Israel. Shevet Levi, right? My family weren't given, or and Ben's, the Kohanim and the Levium, they weren't given areas to live or to have agriculture, etc., because they had to be busy with holy things, teaching the Jewish people, being the teachers, being the Kohanim and the Levium in the Beis HaMikdash. So they don't have a space in Eretz Yisrael. So one of the places that they lived were in the cities of refuge, and they made it into a bustling city, where there was commerce, etc., because there were permanent people that lived there, and they were from Shevet Levi. Comes Rabbi and says, those Shevet Levi, do not bury them in cities of refuge. Someone, an inadvertent killer, in that unfortunate situation, the Torah tells us Shama. The Torah tells us that over there he should live, and ultimately, if the Kohen Gadol doesn't die before him, so he dies over there and he gets buried there. But that's something unique that the Torah tells us. Otherwise, everyone else that lives there does not get buried. We don't make cemeteries in the cities of refuge. Now we continue, and we learned in the Mishnah that the city of refuge gives refuge to the inadvertent killer. And the Mishnah continued and said, just like the city of refuge gives refuge, meaning that the relative cannot come and take revenge of this inadvertent murderer, can't take revenge if he's in a city of refuge. The Mishnah said that also the Tchum, the 2,000 ames around it, also gives refuge, meaning if the guy is running to the city of refuge, as long as he got into the Tchum of the city, into the 2,000 ames of the city, around 3,000 feet from the city, as long as he got within 3,000 feet of the city, so that gives him refuge, that the Goyal Adam, the relative, can't come and kill him. So that is what the Mishnah says. V'raminu, and the Gemara asks, doesn't the pasuk say that he should sit in the city of refuge? Right? It says v'yashav ba, he shall sit in there. Ba v'lei b'tchuma. Isn't it obvious that he should be in the city and not in the 3,000 feet outside of the city, meaning in the tchum outside of the city, right? So how do we reconcile the fact that the pasuk says that he should be in the city, and the Mishnah says that even the 2,000 ames outside the city also is part of, so to speak, the city of refuge? Amar Abaye, so Abaye answers like Kashya. Abaye says it's not, no question here. Why? Because kan likloit kan lodor. One is just to give him refuge, meaning he's running into the city, so it gives him refuge already outside the city. But he's not allowed to live. The pasuk that says "V'yashav ba" is talking about his living. Living, you're not allowed to live outside of the city, even within 2,000 feet of the city. You have to live inside the city, and that's the difference. And that's why that's why the pasuk says one thing and the Mishnah says something different. So the Gemara says, hold on a second, Lador, typically, they know some Sada Migrash, Migrash Sada, Migrash Ir, Migrash. There we have another statement that when you have a city, you don't make the city into a field. You don't make the fields outside of the city into the empty fields outside of the city. You don't make them into fields to grow crops, because it's nice when you approach a city that there's empty land, not crop land. Put that a little bit further out. And also you don't make the empty land around the city. You don't make it into a city. You don't build houses there. You're supposed to leave it like that. So we see from here that you're not supposed to live on the outskirts of a city. The outskirts of a city is supposed to be left empty, and don't build a house there. So we already know that. So we don't need the pasuk to tell us that you can't live out there. So we have already another place to live. So he says, no, we need this because it's referring to, there's a difference about making caves, living underground. So the Mishnah that says that you shouldn't make the outskirts of the city into like build on the empty lands on the outskirts of the city, But if you live underground, right? If you make a tunnel and you live underground, that's fine because you're not changing the look of the city. And that's what that Mishnah or the Braisa is worried about. They're worried about the way the city looks. But a person that's in a city of refuge is also not allowed to make a tunnel or a cave and live outside of the city. Not allowed to. And that's the difference between the two. Has to live in the city. And that's because it says so in the pasuk. Okay, next part of the Mishnah, this halacha is, and we learned already this machlekes, that a inadvertent killer that for whatever reason left the city of refuge. So what happens to him? What's allowed? Meaning, what if the relative finds him and wants to kill him, or if not the relative, someone else finds him and is upset that he inadvertently killed somebody? So what's the halacha, right? So if he leaves, so Tana Rabbanon, the rabbis thought, the sages thought, it says in the pasuk. It says in the pasuk the scenario that if someone leaves the city of refuge and the relative kills the inadvertent killer, right? So the pasuk says virotzach, and he kills. So the first opinion, Rabbi Yossi Aglili's opinion, is that mitzvah biat geil adam yeah. Oh no, mitzvah. Yeah, exactly. Mitzvah biyad geil adam. This relative has a mitzvah, has a command that he should kill this person. If he finds him, he should kill him. Now, ein geil adam. What if there isn't a geil adam? What if there isn't a relative? So then Rabbi Yossi says rishus biyad kol adam, that everybody else has permission. He's not obligated to, but he has permission. To this guy, it shouldn't have left the city of refuge, and if he leaves the city of refuge, they have permission, right? Rabbi Akiva says that's Rabbi Yossi Aglili's opinion. Rabbi Akiva says Rishus biad geil adam v'chol adam chayavin alav. It looks like this is the way the Rambam at least paskins halacha, like Rabbi Akiva, that the relative has permission. If he has permission, he doesn't have to. And v'kol adam chayavin alav. But if someone else goes and kills this inadvertent killer, he's a murderer and he gets capital punishment. My time, Mother Rabbi Yossi Aglili. So now the Gemara is going to analyze the two opinions. Rabbi Yossi Aglili says that he has a mitzvah to go after his relative's killer, inadvertent killer. So he says, Miktiv imratzach. The pasuk says viratzach, and he kills. It doesn't say if he killed, it says and he kills. So Rabbi Yossi Aglili learns from that pasuk that it's a mitzvah. That's what Rabbi Yossi Aglili learns. Rabbi Kiva says Miktiv yirtzach. Does it say that he should kill? It just says and he did kill, right? So again, the pasuk is a little open-ended, and therefore Rabbi Kiva learns it one way, and Rabbi Yossi Aglili learns it in another way. Amar Marzutra Bar Tuvia, Amar Rav. Marzutra Bar Tuvia says in the name of Rav. An inadvertent killer that leaves the city of refuge, and the relative finds him, v'hargai, and he kills him. Neragalov. This person, even though he's a goyal adam, he gets killed. Meaning he's not allowed to do that.
It's not what Rabbi Akiva says.
It's not what Rabbi Akiva says. It's not what Rabbi Yossi Aglili says. It's a third opinion. It's a third opinion that's much more against killing, right? That's what the Gemara continues. Keman, who's this saying it? Who's Rav saying this according to? Like Rabbi Yossi Aglili, like Rabbi Akiva. This is not Rabbi Yossi Aglili's opinion. This is not Rabbi Akiva's opinion. So Uda Amar Ki Ai Tana. So he says that he's saying it according to this Tana. Who's the Tana? The Tanya we learned Rabbi Eliezer Oimer. Rabbi Eliezer says Ad Amdoi Lifnei Idol Mishpat. The pasuk says that you have to bring him to the Bezdin for judgment. You have to wait until he gives rendered judgment. Ma Talmud Makkos. What do we learn from there? What do we learn from that pasuk? Lefi shenemar v'ratzach gel adam esaritzeach yachal miyad. Since the pasuk says that the relative can kill or will kill or might kill the inadvertent murderer, but comes the other pasuk and puts a caveat. We were learning this, Philip, in the Sikha, right? It says machshefa lo yisachaya. It says that sorcerer is not allowed to live. What does Rashi say over there? No. First, got to go to Bezdin, right? And that's what Rav is saying over here. It says v'ratzach. It says that he killed. But 1 second, we learn from another pasuk that it's got to go to Bezdin first. You just can't go walk over to him and kill him. You have to go to Bezdin first. And there has to be a judgment over here that he belonged in a city refuge. He wasn't there. You have to discuss it. You can't just take matters into your own hand. So Yachal Miyad, you would think that he's allowed to kill him right away. Talmud Leimer Ad Amdei Lefnei Edel Mishpat. It has to be brought in front of Bezdin. Only after it's brought in front of a Jewish court, in front of Bezdin. So then he's allowed to. Then once renders judgment, then it's a different story. But he can't do it right away. So that is Rav's opinion that that Marzuta brought. Marzuta Bartuvia brought Rav's opinion, right? So what's the question now? Obviously, now let's go back to Rabbi Yisrael and Rabbi Akiva. Why are they saying that they don't have to? That you don't have to render judgment. You should just go and do it right away. Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Akiva. This pasuk that says Ad Amdei Lefnei Aida, this pasuk that says that you should hold him until he goes in front of the Bezdin, Lemishpat, my Darshabay. What is that pasuk coming to tell us? What is the drasha? What is the drush? What's the explanation of that pasuk? What's it coming to tell us? So he says that pasuk, Ahomi Boile, we need that pasuk. Lichiditanya, for we have learned. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Rabbi Akiva says, Minayin, Lisanhedin Sharo Echad Sharag Sanefesh, She'ein Memisin Oisei Ad Sheyamim Bezdin Acher. What's the scenario? A Bezdin, can you imagine? There's a Bezdin. A Bezdin is 3 rabbis. 3 rabbis sit on a Bezdin, or maybe 21 rabbis, or whatever it is. A Bezdin witnessed someone murdering someone else, right? Now, what would you say? Bezdin, right away, we saw this guy gets capital punishment. You might say that. Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Yisrael Lili, from that pasuk, they learn and they say no. He has to go in front of another court, not in front of these people, in front of another Bezdin, in order to be tried for capital offense, right? These rabbis are allowed to be the witnesses. They're allowed to come and testify, but they're not allowed to be the judges, even though they saw it. And where does he learn that from? Talmud Leimer, because it says in the pasuk, Ad Amdei Lefnei Eidol Mishpat, Ad Sheyamed Bezdin Acher, that it says that you have to get in front of a Bezdin. So in this scenario, you have to go in front of another Bezdin. The rabbis have taught Im Yotza Yoitze Haroitzeach. The pasuk says, if he goes out of the city of refuge, right? The pasuk gives the scenario of this person going out of the city of refuge early, not in the right time, right? But the pasuk doesn't say if he goes out. The pasuk says im yatsa yetze. If he goes out, that he went out. It uses like a double lashon, a double word. So now the fact the pasuk says that if he leaves, so then he could get killed, right? He left early, he could get killed, right? He shouldn't leave because if he leaves, he could get killed. So now when we learn that pasuk, the what we know for sure is that if he leaves on purpose, says I don't care about this place. I'm leaving. I'm not waiting for the Kohen Gadol. I have things to do. I have business deals to make. I'm gone, and he leaves. Right, meaning that he left on purpose. Ben Mezid, he knew what he was doing. Right. So of course the pasuk is referring to this guy. Right. But how do we know that it also includes someone that left by mistake? He didn't realize. He woke up one morning and he got a call and he started running because he ran to go make a business deal. He forgot that he's supposed to stay in this city, right? I don't know how that's possible, but I guess it's possible that he forgot, right? So how do we know b'shoigeg? So now the sages thought that since the pasuk says twice yatsa yetze, if he goes out, he went out. So it's coming to include something. It's an extra word coming to include that even if he went out by mistake, this pasuk applies to him. And yatsa yetze, right? About Tanya. But now the Gemara asks on that. We learned there's a brisa that says that if he left on purpose, so he could get killed. But b'shoigeg, if he left on, no, you just send him back to the city of refuge. You pick him up and you send him back to the city of refuge, right? You warn him, you send him to the city of refuge. So which one is it, right? The first Tanu Rabbanon says, the first statement says that inadvertent he might get killed, and the second the Brisa says no, he just has to go back. So the Gemara answers like Kashya. It's not hard. It's not a question. That sometimes when you talk, you say words twice in order for emphasis, right? So some people say that certain psukim in the Torah, dibra Torah b'lashon bnei adam. The Torah talks the way people talk, and therefore sometimes if the guy went out and he went out from the city, he said went out twice, right? And that's what right. Usually we're much more careful about this, but still there is an opinion like that, right? And therefore, according to that opinion, so it's not it's not talking about the shoygig. According to the other opinion, it is talking about the shoygig, right? But the Gemara, we're not done with the story yet. Yeah. Amar Abaye says, Mistabra. It makes sense. It's the svara makes sense to say. So Abaye says, based on the outcome, not based on the svara, but based on the outcome, we should really say that the Torah is talking in the language of people, and therefore the second yetze is not referring to the person who went out by mistake. Why? That the time that he went out by mistake shouldn't be worse for him than the time that he actually killed someone by mistake, right? Because what happens? He kills someone by mistake. Oh, you killed someone by mistake, you have to go to a city of refuge. That's the halacha. You have to go to a city of refuge. Oh, you left by mistake, you get killed, right? No, it should be the same. It should be that if he left on purpose, that the pasuk is referring to. But if he left by mistake, so it shouldn't be worse than when he went in the first time, and he should just be escorted, so to speak, back to the city of refuge. Just like in the original case of this man's story. If he kills on purpose, nerag, he gets capital punishment, right? If he killed inadvertently, goes to city of refuge. So the end of the story, the time that he leaves, if he left when he shouldn't have left the city of refuge, be amazed if he did it on purpose. Okay, so then maybe he should get capital punishment. He could get killed. But if he did it inadvertently, he should just go to a city of refuge. That's why Abaye says, mistabra. It's like this is the way that should make sense. I don't know what the halacha is, but that's the way Abaye says. Let's see if there is a quote over here for the halacha. Looks like the halacha it looks like the halacha is like the Tanya, the Brisa that b'mezid nerag b'shogeg goyla. But the question about the pasuk still stands then. Okay. Tani chada. So now one last case that the Gemara is going to talk about before we get to the new Mishnah is about a father that it's a crazy story, but that's the thing about the Gemara. The Gemara never leaves a stone unturned. I shouldn't say never. I mean, there's enough things that the commentaries later still discuss, but the Gemara is never shy from bringing up a scenario, Never shot, even though it's a crazy scenario, chas v'shalom, it should never happen and will never happen. Surely, right? We bless everybody. Something like this should never happen. But this idea, if it happens, we need to know the halacha. Listen, this here we're talking in Talmud Makkos, in Gemara Brachas that we learned last Masechta. We had even a lot more things that people, raised the eyebrows, so to speak. The Gemara is going to talk about bathrooms, and the Gemara is going to talk. No, the Gemara talks about everything. So here, Tani Chada, we learned in one place that of shaharag benoi nasa legoyel adam, that if a father kills inadvertently by mistake, he kills his son. They were both out chopping wood, right? And by mistake killed his son. So now Nasal Gildam, the other brother, the sibling, becomes the Goyal Adam, becomes the retribution guy, right? And therefore the father has to go to a city of refuge. And we learned otherwise that that a son never becomes Goyal Adam, can never become, because what are you putting him in a position? You're not allowed to do anything to your father, right? Not even allowed to give him a black and blue mark. So what's the story over here? So which one is it? We learned both things. Which one is it? So Lema. So maybe first the Gemara tries to put it into the perspective of the argument between Rabbi Yosef Glil and Rabbi Kiva, and ultimately the Gemara says no. And the Gemara says ultimately la halacha is that a child, a son, could never become a goyal adam. That's ultimately where the Gemara goes. But first the Gemara tries to analyze this and make it into an argument and fit it into the argument of Rabbi Yosef Glili and Rabbi Kiva. Lema Rabbi Yosef Glili va Rabbi Kiva. Maybe we could fit it in that one of the opinions is according to Rabbi Yosef Glili and the other one is according to Rabbi Kiva. And let's explain it. Yeah. Meaning, what did Rabbi Yosef Glili say? Let's go back. What did Rabbi Yosef Glili say? Rabbi Yosef Glili said that it's a mitzvah for the Goyal Adam, right? It's a mitzvah for him to kill the inadvertent killer, right? For Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Kiva says no, rishus, he has permission. So the Gemara says, hold on a second. If one opinion is that the son kills the father, is the Goyal Adam, so maybe it's because it's a mitzvah. And the opinion says that the son doesn't kill the fathers because it's not a mitzvah, it's just permission, right? And that's where this argument comes. But the Gemara says no. The Gemara says no, it's not. V'tizbra, you can't say this. If you really have such a svara, v'tizbra, you think like that. Bein l'man da'amar mitzvah, bein l'man da'amar rishus, mishari. Whether according to the opinion of Rabbi Yosef Glili that it's a mitzvah, or according to the opinion of Rabbi Kiva that it's a permission, mishari, you're going to allow such a thing to happen? A son with a father, mishari. Is it possible to say that that's allowed? Rabbi Baravuna says, and they learned and also famously said from the yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael, Lakoil, for all Avedas in the Torah, anything that a father, let's say a father transgressed, any Aveda in the Torah, a child can never become the messenger of the Bezdin, of the court, to hit the father, which is what? Malchus, right? The lashes that we talked about at the beginning of last chapter. That's what this Masechta is, Makkos. He's not allowed to curse the father, no matter what. Yeah. Chutz mi mesis. There's only one exception. Mesis is where a person is actively schlepping people to Avodah Zarah. Actively schlepping people, not serving idols himself. If he's doing it by himself quietly, that's not mesis. Mesis is that he's going and coming into shul and telling someone, I really met this beautiful Avodah Zarah, you should come with me there. That's a mesis, right? A mesis. So the Sharei Amra Torah, love, because when it comes to a mesis, the pasuk says very clearly, don't you don't have to worry. You don't have to have rachmanis on that person, right? So now we're still left with a question. We're left with a question that we have in one place that it says that a child becomes the Goyal Adam. The other place we said that a child cannot become a Goyal Adam. and we tried to fit it in with the that one is the opinion of Reisi Aglili, the other is the opinion of Rebbe Kiva, and the Gemara said, no way, they both hold that a son is never allowed to, except for in one scenario, the Mesa scenario, a son is never allowed to touch his father, chas v'shalom, right? So what's the story over here? So how do we have those two brises, right? How do we have those two statements? Comes the Gemara and answers like that one is talking about his son, one is talking about a grandson. And by his son is chas v'shalom not allowed because it's kabdes v'ich and his brothers are not allowed.
They're not blood redeemers, but the son of the son.
Yeah.
He's-
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, you have no blood redeemers. You can't-
Right, because it's his uncle that was killed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very good. And this is on the bottom of Yud Beis Amid Aleph, a new Mishnah. So we're going to stop here. New Mishnah will start the Mitzvah Hashem next week.